Hey everybody, I did not cause a massive flood in North Carolina at all for Franco.
Well, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather we've got. Wait a minute. Well, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather, whether or not. There it is.
Well, hello, listeners at CFUR Radio Prince George. Hello, listeners at CKUW Winnipeg. Hello, listeners at CFBX Kamloops. Hello, viewers on Rogers Television outlets in Vancouver Island. This is the Comedeorological Report. Comedy plus meteorology equals Comedeorology. It's your show about how much the weather sucks. And I'm your host, Joey Only, up here in Wells, British Columbia, with the usual cast of Comedeorologists, the panel from across Canada and beyond. Yeah, we got, of course, the star of the show, Frankie McDonald's here with us. We will talk to him in a few minutes. We do have a special guest tonight, my very good old friend, Ronnie Grigg. I used to work with in the downtown east side. He just came back from New York, where he was at the Emmys because he's in this movie called Love in the Time of Fentanyl. And it was nominated for an Emmy. And we'll tell you if you won or lost in a minute. And we also have the panel Comedeorologist. That includes, oh, people are dinging me. This is tough. That includes Brandon Houck out there in Brooks, Alberta, radio weatherman there. We got meteorologist Mark. He's down there in Surrey, British Columbia. We got storm chaser Hank Vliestra out there in Wilkie, Saskatchewan, of course. I believe I have to look through Mike from the Weather Center in Manitoba, Karen Richards from Interior Weather and Wilderness Watchers up here, and a group that I run. Then we got a full cast of people tonight. It's going to be totally awesome. It's going to be totally awesome. So, Frankie, do you remember my good friend Ronnie Grigg? He used to come on here,
Yes.
and he would give reports from the homeless camp.
Yes, I remember him in 2021.
There you go, Frankie. How you doing tonight, Ronnie?
I'm doing great. Good to see you again, Frankie.
Good to see you again, Ronnie. Long time no see.
Yeah, that's right. Happy to be here, though.
So you tell me about your trip to New York briefly, and a little bit about what the movie's about.
Last week, I was in New York City as an invited guest to the Emmys, as Joey said. I'm one of the subjects in a film called Love in the Time of Fentanyl that was filmed in 2019 and it was released in 2020. Where are we here? 2022. And it was broadcast on PBS in the early part of 2023. And it was nominated in the category of Outstanding Current Affairs Documentary. And so I was invited to attend as one of the subjects, and so I went down there for 4 days last week. And do I tell what happened? What the results?
Yeah, you can.
This is the time. I'm an Emmy loser. Okay, I'm officially an Emmy loser. So
we're all losers here. It's
exactly.
Okay.
We can all be losers together. There's only one winner, and I'm a loser. So yeah, but I was in the room. So that was okay. That was pretty cool too.
And maybe just briefly explain the movie, its contents, like
Sure.
what's going on in it, and therefore what were you doing?
So my history, sort of my work life for the past 15 years has been in overdose prevention, homelessness response in Vancouver's downtown east side, but I've especially focused on drug consumption rooms, like supervised. Every community has a different name for it across the country and across the continent. I call it a supervised drug consumption room, or a safe injection. Some people call it a safe injection site, supervised injection site. So I've worked in those environments in Vancouver for 15 years now, and one of them, the Vancouver Overdose Prevention Society site, I managed that for a couple of years. And this friend, Colin Askey, the filmmaker, he also worked in harm reduction, but has done a lot of films. It was his project. He was able to get funding from PBS, and it was his first feature-length film, and so it was about overdose prevention in a public health crisis.
Yeah, we're gonna be talking to Ronnie a lot tonight.
Who has the worst weather in the world, Frankie?
Frankie McDonald, who's got the worst weather in the whole friggin' world, bud?
Somewhere in Taiwan, there he had a typhoon. It was really, really bad. did a lot of damage to Taiwan. Perth, Australia had a powerful storm with high winds and heavy rain. Then it got a hydrologic outlook coming up this Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's going to bring a lot of rain in down the state of Florida, southern Florida, like Miami, Fort Lauderdale. That could even affect the Florida Panthers against Boss Bruins home opener in Florida on Tuesday.
How's the weather in Sydney, Nova Scotia, Frankie?
It's nice outside right now. It's sitting about mild in Sydney right now. A little cool. Then it got some rain in the forecast in New Brunswick this Saturday and Sunday, including parts of Nova Scotia as well. It's about a little bit of rain. Then it got more rain and snow in northern Ontario on this weekend coming up. And they're going to bring lots of rain in Prince Rupert, British Columbia. That's on the west coast of Canada, like Prince Rupert, BC, and those places. Then it gets some rain heading for Vancouver on Friday and Saturday. Then you get lots of stormy weather in Juneau, Alaska, and in West Coast Alaska, and things like this. And South Coast Alaska, lots of cold air going on in Alaska right now. It's getting some snow up in Inuvik, Northwest Territories. They're getting snow up in Grace Fjord, Nunavut, and parts of Baffin Island, Nunavut, and Resolute Bay. They're getting some snow there right now. It's winter time there right now. Inuvik, Northwest Territories, as of right now, their winter has begun there. They got a big storm heading for Winnipeg, Manitoba, with high winds and wind-driven rain on Saturday and Sunday. And it snowed somewhere in Manitoba in the forecast as well. Lots of snow somewhere in Manitoba. Then they got some hot air in California, Arizona, where Gary Dino is at, including places like New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Nevada. It's really hot there. So Southern California, this weekend coming up, and the next week it's going to be really hot in California, including Los Angeles and San Diego and all these places. Hurricane Carl's going to get really powerful to see. It's headed towards the United Kingdom. And Leslie's going to become a hurricane out in the Atlantic Ocean somewhere as well next week. And then it got to upper level low. It's going to take place up in Hudson Bay, Quebec, and Ontario. That's going to drive cold air into Montreal, where Base Guy lives. Lots of rain and thunderstorms in the forecast in Central America this weekend coming. In Central America, lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in Guatemala, Costa Rica, El Salvador, and all those places, including Nigeria and all these places. In Panama and Honduras and all those places. Lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in Colombia right now. They got rain and thunderstorms in forecast in Colombia and Venezuela and Amazon rainforest, assuming in the rainy season. Lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in parts of Ecuador, parts of Bolivia. In northern Peru, it's dry in southern Peru. In northern Chile, it's really dry right now. Then they got some in southern Chile, lots of snow up in the mountains and lots of rain in the coast areas in Chile. It's dry in Santiago, Chile. Then they got showers in the forecast next week. There in Santiago, Chile, lots of dry weather in Amazon rainforest and lots of storms coming off the coast of South Brazil as well. And I got something else to say. Then they got lots of powerful storms heading for United Kingdom later on next week possible. Then they got Hurricane Carl heading towards England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland. Going to bring lots of snow up in Norway later on next week. A lot of snow up in Norway and Finland and Sweden as a strong post-tropical storm. It's going to bring lots of high winds and heavy rain there. And right now, it's going to bring lots of showers and forecasts in England, France, Spain, Portugal. It's going to bring lots of heavy rain in parts of Italy, like Cortina, Italy, and those places. Home of the 2026 Winter Olympics. Rain in western Ukraine and Poland and southern Germany, including Switzerland, Austria, and all these places. And Croatia, Bosnia, and all those places. And Slovakia is getting some rain in the forecast where Stevan, friend of Base Guy, lives. It's really dry in Egypt, Libya, Algeria. They got showers in the forecast in Morocco. It's really dry in parts of Greece and Turkey. In the showers and forecast, they got really dry conditions in Turkey. In Moscow, Russia, is lots of rain in the forecast. Some rain in the forecast in western Russia and Belarus. Then it got some rain heading towards Belarus this Sunday coming with heavy rain in the forecast, like capital in Belarus. Then Taiwan just got hit by Typhoon Graton. Did a lot of damage. In eastern China, Typhoon did a lot of damage in eastern China. And lots of heavy rain in Japan as of right now. Then it got some showers in the forecast in southern Japan. Then it got some warm air and cold air fighting each other in northern Japan. Oh my God, in Japan. And lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in Indonesia, Philippines, including Malaysia, Singapore, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and all those places, Bangladesh, and Myanmar. As of right now, rain and thunderstorms are forecast. India's monsoon season is gradually dying out. And still a lot of thunderstorms and rain forecast in Sri Lanka including it's really dry in Pakistan right now, and Afghanistan, and Iran. It's really dry there right now, including places like in Africa. Lots of rain and thunderstorms in the forecast going on in Africa right now, like Tonga, like Nigeria and Ghana, and Ethiopia, and all those places right now. And over in Middle East and places like in Saudi Arabia, lots of really dry and hot right now in UAE, Qatar, Oman, Yemen, and Saudi Arabia, but little showers to forecast. Weather in Southern Africa. It's really hot in South Africa right now, including Botswana, Namibia, including Angola. Right now, it's rain in the forecast in northern Angola. Mozambique is really dry and the showers in the forecast right now. So is Madagascar, La Reunion, and Mauritius Islands. Perth, Australia got hit by so much heavy rain and strong winds, like Perth, Australia. And showers in the forecast in New South Wales, Australia. Chance of thunderstorms in the forecast. Like Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, all those places there in the hail season right now. Places like Perth, Australia, it's really dry after the storm that struck Perth, Australia earlier in the week, and I got my forecast right.
You got your forecast right.
In Southwest Pacific, lots of rain and thunderstorms going on in New Zealand right now. Heavy rain in New Zealand early next week, and showers in the forecast in the weekend, including North Island and South Island, New Zealand. But another set of really cold temperatures heading towards Queenstown, New Zealand, and Invercargill, New Zealand. In the middle of next week, it's Southern Hemisphere spring there right now. It's their spring. But the winter and summer fighting each other there right now. It's going to be 24-hour daylight. And down in Antarctica on November 18th and 19th, up above the Arctic Circle, is going to bring 24-hour darkness around November 18th and 19th, up in the Arctic as well.
Excellent weather report, Frankie. So my first question for you tonight, Frankie, what kind of noise would you like Ronnie to make?
Oh my God.
Monkey.
A monkey sound, Ronnie. Let's go.
Ooh, 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 ooh. I need to warm up a little.
Hey everybody, let's do a tutorial side. A breakdown.
We got time for one more question for Frankie. Anyone got a question for Frankie? Mark, meteorologist Mark Engels.
Frankie, what's the best food to eat at a hockey game?
They have hot dogs and pizzas.
Excellent.
Pizza.
Hot dogs
Frankie.
and pizzas. Yeah, Mike.
What's the best food to eat when the weather gets cold and you start getting frost on the ground? What's your favorite food to eat?
I like pizzas and Chinese food.
Now that's my type of food. That's my type of guy.
Remember that place there? There's a place in Sydney, Nova Scotia, and for some reason I thought it was Chinese Pizza was the name of the place.
Chinese pizza. It's Italian, not Chinese. It's Italian.
And Frankie kept trying to convince me that it wasn't. So Frankie McDonald, we do have some Frankie videos to watch a little later tonight.
Yes.
We're going to go to Brandon Houck in just a minute time. So Ronnie, what is the weather like down there in Vancouver right now tonight?
Sort of your average fall day in Vancouver that's not raining. So it's about 14 degrees and cloudy. And that's been the past couple of days. There was some nice sunshine yesterday afternoon, but today it's been mostly overcast. Kind of bland. Nothing exciting.
That's Vancouver weather. How is New York's weather by comparison?
It was very humid for this guy. I was melting constantly. And honestly, when I got back to this coast, I thought it was cold. I'm just so tender when it comes to humidity. You know, living on the coast, I don't know what's happened to me. One thing I did the last part of my trip on Saturday, I took a train down to the Jersey Shore. I have a distant relative who lives down there in Asbury Park and Ocean Grove area, and that was you could tell me better what day the hurricane landed, but it was starting to rain really heavy, so we didn't have any beach time. We just drove past it and stuff, but it was raining heavily.
Yes.
We do have executive producer Imogen Cookie Bailey showing up as well. She's the reason we're on TV. So I'm not sure if you're tuned in there yet, Imogen, but hi to you. if you can't say hi back. We'll talk to Ronnie. He's the guest of the night. We'll be back to Ronnie, but first we're going to run through some localized weather reports, starting with Radio Man and co-host of the show, Brandon Hauk. How you doing tonight, Brandon Hauk?
Oh, doing wonderful. Oh, yes. I'll probably
Brandon Hauk report.
The Brandon Hauk report.
Oh, hi. This is the Brandon Hauk report.
I'll try to make a turkey noise later, maybe after the Brandon Hauk report, because I know everybody wants to hear my turkey noise.
I get a good turkey noise.
I'll do it after the show, because you know what? Got to save the turkey noise for later, because it's like the closing of the Brandon Hauk report, you know. Just like that. Okay. Well, first, this week we had the thunderstorm rolled in on Sunday afternoon while I was doing a radio broadcast, you know, the hockey broadcast there, the Brooks Bandits. We were playing the Trail Smoke Eaters, and I was really happy to be at the radio station instead of stuck inside of a hockey arena, because I probably would have missed the whole thunderstorm. And that storm rolled in from the west, a nice little shelf cloud there, and boom, bam, boom, 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 boom. Oh yeah, it was good. It was a good little show from inside the radio station. It even shook the whole radio studio, in a soundproof radio studio. And I was about to go on the air, and I wish I was on the air when that whole station shook, because that would have been epic radio. But anyways, I still made it epic radio, even with the thunderstorm going on outside, and it just poured sheets. We just had sheets of rain coming down. It was great. And
of course you did.
Nobody knew that there was a thunderstorm outside with the radio. Well, actually they did, because my hyper levels were through the roof during that broadcast there. Yeah. Luckily it was a home game, so nobody was paying attention. No, they were all at the hockey game, and while I was watching the thunderstorm outside, and I didn't miss a beat on missing all the goals or anything like that too. So I was kind of worried about that. So I was like, oh boy, I'm going to miss everything that went on in the period, because I have to do the period recap and the intermission there. And if I don't pay attention, then the period recap's not going to be that great. It'll be more so about the thunderstorm instead. So
and here's the second period recap. There was 16 lightning bolts.
16 lightning bolts, yeah. Outside, shook the whole studio. So that was Sunday. Monday, we cooled off just to start off the week. So it was the first cold front that went through. Then we saw a little bit of a bump up in temperature there through the middle part of the week. And then we saw another cold front go through with yet another drop in temperature. By the way, Tuesday, we saw temperatures in the south in the low to mid 20s, and then just to my north, we were staying in the low teens all day long, with that front just hanging out just to our north there, and eventually it slipped through late day Tuesday and then cooled us down for the last couple of days, and we had our first pretty big frost this morning. Temperature dropped to -3 degrees Celsius here, and it got pretty frosty out there. Tonight, as we go into the 4th of October, we're probably going to avoid that next frost with the warm front moving in, and that's going to bring us the Chinook conditions with that next system out of British Columbia that will develop a new area of low pressure near Drumheller on Friday, the 4th of October, and that is going to intensify into quite a area of low pressure here, moving across the prairies, kind of a clipperish kind of system here that's going to bring some strong winds off the foothills, gusting anywhere from, I'd say, up to 90 to 100 kilometers an hour. And then those winds are going to spread across southern Alberta Friday night there, and then push into Saskatchewan for Saturday, where they could be dealing with those winds gusting 80 to 90 throughout the day from Swift Current through Moose Jaw, Regina. So, this is going to be like a Saskatchewan howler here for Saturday as we go through the weekend, and then the upper ridge of high pressure takes over into the beginning of next week. We'll see our temperatures recover back to the 20s, lots of sunshine, nothing to worry about. And then the great story that I found this week was a goat. Yeah, that's right, a goat in Newfoundland, in Conception Bay, Newfoundland there. There's this big marathon, 10K marathon going on, and this goat randomly got out of his pen or whatever and joined the marathon and ran with all of the people who are running in this marathon for the full 10K. And I thought it was awesome. They even gave the goat a medal as it crossed the finish line at the end there. So I thought that was pretty awesome for the story for the week there. And now the moment you have been waiting for, my turkey noise. Here we go. There we go.
I approve.
I saw his drumstick.
The Brandon Hauk report. One more. We're going to go one more before we go back to Ronnie here. I'm going to talk to meteorologist Mark. And Justin from Weather Center Manitoba also just showed up. And you can feel free to also speak on this. Talk to us about the Northern Lights.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll take like a minute, and then I'll let Justin, and then I'll finish my report. So Northern Lights, we had 2 large solar flares over the last about 36 hours or so. The one earlier today was an X9 class solar flare, and for those who don't pay attention, it's bigger than the one in May, which was X8.7. This is the largest solar flare so far in this solar cycle. We're near the peak. This is an 11-year cycle where it waxes and wanes. We're near the peak. So what does that mean? Well, it being a larger solar flare does not necessarily mean that the Northern Lights will be better than they were in May, because the strength of the flare does not necessarily correspond to the strength of the ejection that occurs associated with it. But there was a large ejection that did happen, an eruption from the sun's atmosphere. The Space Weather Prediction Center is predicting KP values up to 7. That means that, unfortunately, that peaks during the day on October 5th. What is that, Saturday? During the day, North American time on the 5th, but should be KP 6 or so as we head into the evening, both tomorrow, both Friday night and Saturday night. We're recording this on Thursday, October 3rd. And that would be favorable Northern Lights conditions, assuming clear skies, for most of Canada and large sections of the U.S. north of like Oregon to Iowa to Pennsylvania. How to see the Northern Lights? You want to be in a dark area if possible. That way you can hide your criminality and see the Northern Lights. That'll be, outside of town. In the United States and Southwest BC especially, you want a good view to the north. Other parts of Canada, it kind of doesn't matter because you're close enough to the magnetic pole. But that's kind of what I have. Justin, if you want to talk a little bit, that's cool.
Yeah, I had a question
thanks
for Justin about the Northern Lights. Would this affect our radio transmissions or signals or anything like that?
So it would have when the flare was happening, but now that the flare happened, it won't anymore. It's usually happens pretty quick right when the solar flare is happening. But I will add that yesterday we had an X7 class flare, and then earlier in the day, this morning we had the X9. So if we get a little bit of an impact from the X7, that'll weaken our Earth's atmosphere a little bit. And then when the X9 solar flare comes and hits us, then it can be like a double hit.
Magnetosphere, not atmosphere.
Magnetosphere. Thank you. But that's kind of what we look for. So if we already have a little bit of weakening, then it's easier for those solar particles to kind of enter and interact with that. So, and the crazy thing is that we weren't really expecting a lot of crazy activity lately. These sunspot regions really cranked up within a matter of 2 or 3 days. These sunspot regions were basically nothing as they rotated into Earth view, and then they just formed very quickly. And then, you could see what happened as they formed. We had a couple of those X-class flares, and there's another big region that's rotating into Earth view now. So as our current sunspot regions rotate away from the center disk of the Earth, where kind of our strike zone, we have more solar flares that are entering our strike zone. Or not solar flares, more sunspot regions, which could generate solar flares entering our strike zone. So those will have to be watched in the next week or so for further solar flares. That's all I have on that. You did a great job there, Mark. Hopefully we had a good show this weekend.
Yes, I will just add about radio transmission. So I am a ham radio operator. I'm not going to tell you my call sign so you don't dox me. But with that, the reason why radio transmissions are affected during the flare is because that part of the whole situation moves at the speed of light. So it takes the particles that are erupted to create the northern lights 36 to 72 hours to get here. It takes the X-rays and other radio rays coming out of the flare 8 minutes to get here from the sun. And so we feel that impact immediately, and it impacts radio transmissions generally below 30 megahertz. So it's not going to impact FM radio or cell phone towers or stuff like that. The particles from the eruption might impact satellites, but that's a different thing. So some ham radio bands do get impacted during these events. Shortwave radio gets impacted in AM radio. So that's kind of what I have on the solar flare. So talking about hockey, we are going to a Vancouver Giants game later this month. That'll be fun. I love WHL. It's been a while since I've been to a WHL game, and we are taking Akalia to her first game. And apparently we are taking my wife Alicia to her first game. She told me while we were eating dinner tonight that she has never seen hockey, like on television or anything. Her exposure to hockey is the hockey scene in Inside Out 2, which just came out.
That's like a movie or something?
Yeah, it's a Disney movie. Ask your kids, they'll know about it. So apparently this is the reason why our permanent residency is taking so long, is because my wife has never been exposed to hockey. Yeah, so I expect to have permanent residency next month after I go to the game at the end of this month. My history thing, there was a hurricane in 1869 that hit Nova Scotia, and it was really damaging, and it's called the Saxby Hurricane because a lieutenant in the Navy correctly predicted the tides being super high in the Bay of Fundy, and he said if there's a hurricane or a storm this week, then the storm surge will be really bad, and it was. And I know we don't have much time, so I will leave it at that, and I will go to bed. Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much, meteorologist Mark, and Justin too. Good to have you as always. So we do have kind of a tight show tonight. So what I want to do is I want to get Ronnie to briefly sort of give an overview on the overdose situation and the homeless situation in Vancouver and maybe how that translates abroad. And then I want to open the floor up to the panelists to talk.
Thanks. I've as mentioned earlier, it's been in 2021. I came on the show, and it's kind of hard to be the unfunny one. Like I like to go, hey guys, I really can be funny, but then I have to talk about public health crisis and homelessness and stuff like that. It's a little bit hard to be funny around that. But I wanted to. Who just left? It was not Michael, but
it was Mark. Yeah,
Mark. Yeah,
he has to get up for his meteorology shift at like 4 a.m. and
right. I think if you pay for a hockey ticket with Canadian Tire money while eating a donut, it expedites the permanent residency stuff. I hope he gets that advice, and he should be fast tracked if he does it that way.
Hopefully when he puts the podcast up on Spotify and all that tomorrow, he'll listen to it and be like, oh,
yeah, there's a couple of little gems for him. So as far as Vancouver and the downtown east side goes, we're coming up to it was Canadian, like it was Thanksgiving weekend in 2014 when black market fentanyl hit the streets. So that's 10 years. And it wasn't declared a public health crisis until 2016, April of 2016. But still, that's 8 years where it's been declared a public health crisis. And also in 2016, that's when funding increased for more services, like the one that I was working in the film. And so what has followed with that is that there have been every couple of years, if fentanyl was a poisoning in the drug supply, then around the time of that film, benzodiazepines, another class of drug, was also showing up with fentanyl, and then of course COVID hit. And now there's another drug on the street. It's called Trank. Its other name is xylazine. So in these past 8 years, there've been ever increasing volatility of the illicit drug supply. That's what's true, is that the situation on the streets are more and more potent drugs. People are it's sort of like category worse than ever. And then I would say as well, with sort of how affordability has been getting increasingly out of control in cities all across North America, but especially in Vancouver and on the coast, that homeless populations are being compressed into smaller and smaller areas. So I live near the downtown east side. I'm like 3 blocks away from Main and Hastings. I've raised my family in this community. I'm not just an imported professional, so to speak. But there are people, especially as the seasons are turning and the rain is increasing, the temperatures are dropping. There are people who are basically unconscious on the streets in the rain and in the dropping temperatures. So it's and you know what's crazy for me is being adapted to overdose response. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a paramedic, not a doctor, not a nurse. And I've been involved in over 1,000 overdose responses. I've trained many hundreds of people, maybe over 1,000. And many of those people have far exceeded my number in this community. And what I adapt to in walking through my neighborhood with people I care about and love deeply is that I'm adapted to walking past them. I'm adapted to making sure they're breathing, making sure that there isn't a life and death crisis, because I can't respond to all of it, and people are in crisis, and it's a heartbreaking reality, So that's, I don't know, that's a little over,
Maybe not all of it, but you did good, man.
Yeah, thank you.
You did real good.
Thank you.
And we were talking about pre-show that this isn't just a Vancouver thing anymore.
No, it's
this
everywhere.
is, everybody in BC who's lived here for any length of time knows somebody, multiples, many.
Yeah, somebody very close to me.
Yeah, Hank, do you got a question for Ronnie?
I mean, I just have an observation more, and these safe consumption sites, they are few and far between, and I wish that we could have more of that. But in sparsely populated areas, for instance, you can't find anything like that. So,
well, before you guys opened the second site, the safe injection site, Insight, was so slammed with people that people wouldn't go because there's too much of a wait. There was a need for more. And that's why maybe that's why Sam died in a hotel instead of down at Insight, where he had gone unused, even though he wasn't a Vancouver person, come from here to go down there and die in a hotel room.
Yeah, I mean, the math doesn't add up, right? Because when in that time period between black market fentanyl, and I make that distinction, right? Fentanyl is a pharmaceutical, right? It's used mostly as a patch. It's used in surgical environments, so it's not this big mystery evil. It is a pharmaceutical. And people were using it, like they would cut up patches and boil them, like in little, like on spoons or whatever. But it was like the black market powdered supply. That's what's different about this current crisis. And when our services were so slammed, we went from averaging 10 overdoses a week to 10 a day overnight. And those first 2 nights I was working, and we had 30 overdoses in the first 2 nights, and then we'd have these waves where it'd be quieter, it'd be hotter, and people, yeah, they couldn't wait. So what they would do is use around the site, like in the alley or on the sidewalk, or sometimes in the waiting room where they weren't allowed to. And so then our service became, we had to run out to sidewalks, park cars, hotels, like housing in the area, in the alleys and that kind of stuff, right? Because people knew if they were using near, then there would be a response, right? Can I sort of like one thing I kind of get caught up in conversation, but just to I do want to mention, I always forget to mention my own project, Zero Block Society, which is a harm reduction nonprofit that I'm bringing that I've been bringing forward mostly as a volunteer, but I'm starting to get some stable funding in the past couple of years. So between this documentary, Love in the Time of Fentanyl, and Zero Block Society, my like I've experienced burnout and I've experienced PTSD in this work. And the first time was 2017, and then in the film it points to a moment of burnout that was 2019. And then when I was on the show and I was asked to set up overdose prevention in an encampment with over 400 tents. We used a military surplus tent, hired people that were working in the park, trained them, and very complicated project. And that was very much another burnout site, and then or burnout moment for me. And last year, really with the intensity of a film and touring and just kind of being spread too thin, like I'm almost on this 2-year cycle of burnout moments. And so that's the motivation behind Zero Block Society is like my mission statement is support the work and support the workers to try to create sustainability, because you're right, it's in communities everywhere, big and small. And those communities are unique. What our response in the downtown east side doesn't fit in a place like you were saying, Hank, in a rural area of Saskatchewan, but there is still a crisis out there, right? And so in some way, supporting the people that are showing up to respond to, like, people are suffering, right? And when people support people who are suffering, those supporters should be equipped well, So that's where I'm at now. That's where I'm working.
Yeah, man. And I know things changed, but there I was doing CPR on a guy, and he died in an SRO room. And I showed up for my next shift, like, was supposed to act like nothing happened. And it was like,
you're marked for life.
Yeah, and eventually I lost my wits at somebody, because people in the downtown east side, if you're not in a good headspace, can be very annoying. And shouted at a resident who I'd normally be very kind and loving towards. And I picked up the phone and called the union rep and said, "Why am I working? Why has no one called me to check up?" Right. So I know some things changed, but burnout's a real thing.
Yep, for sure.
And it doesn't just affect you. Those things affect you for the rest of your life.
Absolutely, man. That's when I do a lot of workshops and I always start with the acknowledgement of the first overdose that I attended where the person didn't survive, and it wasn't through any error. It's just that we didn't get there soon enough. That guy, he was known as Carver. You might know him, Joey, and there were no known pictures of him. Hardly anyone knew his real name, and but a lot of people. I knew him for 7 years when I showed up. That's different. That's what's different between a paramedic response or a fire response. Is I knew him, right? And and that has marked me to this day.
Anyone got questions for Ronnie?
In real life, I'm really funny, guys.
I know. Everyone's like sitting there. Their faces is like, if the audience could see what I'm seeing, right?
Can I tell you about sitting in the Emmys?
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay, so this stuff isn't, this isn't ambition. right? Like you don't go into homelessness work and overdose prevention work to try to get to the Emmys in a documentary. Like there's no ambition here, right?
I would think that's probably the last route one would take to have success.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough route. So I knew. So the backstory is you pointed out like that plaque of the Narcan Jesus, and a young guy. I was on my way to work at Insight one night, and I did 2 overdoses before I got to work, and as I was moving from one to another,
just walking up the road.
Yeah, and a guy said, "There go." As I was going from the first to the second, a young guy said, "There goes a Narcan Jesus," right? And there were ambulances coming, and it was stable. And then I get up, kind of adrenalized, and I'm like, "Did you call me Narcan Jesus?" And this kid was laughing at me and stuff. And so then I go to work, I tell the story, and then it sort of ripples out, right? And then this locally famous street artist, Smokey Devil, he did a mural of me because I had attended to an overdose that he was involved in, and he never forgot me, and he wanted to tribute that. And along with that story, he called the mural Narcan Jesus. And so this film started as a short film about Smokey and my story. But then when it got funding, like it just got a lot of momentum, and it shifted from that to a more, comprehensive community, like including more community people, right?
Well, you deserve to be known as someone who gave selflessly all the time and with love. Like that's who you are. It's who you always were.
Thanks, Joey.
I want to commend you for all your hard work. Ronnie, you're an inspiration to me, and I'm sure a lot of other people. It's touching to hear your story and how you've made a difference in the lives of others.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
can you tell us a little bit about this Smokey that you mentioned?
Yeah, Smokey's an amazing street artist. There's someone did a documentary about him recently called him the Underworld Street Reporter, because he became he's a master. Like he can put a line on a wall and it's just perfect. It's unbelievable how like quick and talented he is. And he became kind of famous in this community because he started giving tributes to people who had passed, and would also write their story or say, go and get naloxone at this place, or these are the numbers of deaths, or ops is open, and he kind of became like this street level information piece with this amazing artwork. So yeah, he was even given the key to the city last year, so he's kind of gone from this like this graffiti writing kind of gangster type dude to being really celebrated in the community, and with his story being told and spread far. So it's pretty cool, his redemption. He's not just a junkie anymore, and I know that's a slur, but I'm using it intentionally of how people look down, like the stigma of people looking down on drug users and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and it brings to memory the reality that dead people cannot improve.
They can't recover. So,
in order to get someone to that point, and that's what people I don't think who have any contact with or any understanding of, what a safe consumption site like the safe injection site did for people, and how many people I knew that had gone there, and that constant interaction with the nurse who was on shift and the workers who'd be like, well, here's where you can find this resource, and hey, we'll get you into treatment.
Yeah. It's hard though, like I was down there recently, and with you might say like I'm pretty comfortable referring to our medical system as facing collapse in many areas. Burnout rates in medical professionals are high. It's hard to replace them, and it's there are some shifts where there are no nurses available at Insight. And years ago, it would have been unthinkable to open the site without a nurse, and now the staff there have to adapt to maybe a nurse isn't available to even show up. So that means people aren't getting wound care. And that's with the xylazine, like this tranq drug. One of its symptoms is like really open sores. It's really awful, right? So wound care is becoming increasingly important and stuff like that. I wanted to say earlier, someone asked about where to find. It was Hank, right? No,
it was Mark asking.
It was Mark. Sorry. So, I mean, I live in a bit of a bubble here in Vancouver in the downtown east side. It's readily available in a lot of different environments. It should be available in pharmacies across Canada, right? And different provinces have different supply. In BC, there's two types of naloxone. One is injectable, and the other is they call it intranasal. It's like a little, think of Dristan or one of those like nasal sprays that you can just like kind of mist up someone's nose. And the intranasal stuff is 10 times stronger than the injectable. So with the amount of overdoses and the amount of naloxone distributed, it's cost prohibitive in BC to distribute intranasal naloxone extensively. So they haven't yet. You have to pay for intranasal. It's available, but it's $40 or $50. But the injectable is available at any pharmacy. And then in other provinces, I think the intranasal, it's intense to like, if you're not familiar, like to draw up, a syringe full of naloxone and inject someone. It's a pretty intense intervention if you're not used to it. That's why the intranasal is like, it's just a blast in either nostril, like, and but the pharmacy they should be readily available.
And Mike, you have a question?
Yeah. Do you know if, like, in Winnipeg, if they offer the same? Because I see that everybody like at places and organizations, they have Narcan, but can you only get it, like, as if I know someone who is super sick or has an overdose, or knows of someone who has an addiction, where would I be able to go to get those kits?
Well, I don't have the Winnipeg information like right in front of me. I apologize for that, but pharmacies are a place to go. And then I know there are active harm reduction organizations in Winnipeg. Some good people I know are working in them. And I know those same people are also, working hard to try to expand services there, but there's just a lot of fear and suspicion around these services, and language like enabling, and it's like, that's really, in my mind, obsolete language, like we're caring for people in crisis and hopefully giving them a reason to make a step towards wholeness and health and whatever that may look like. Right.
Well, for a lot of people, that was the only place they could go where someone actually acted like they cared about them.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, it's a reality. It's connection, right? There's a guy, oh dang, my memory. I'll try to get the source of the quote, but essentially he says that the opposite of addiction is not abstinence or sobriety, it's connection.
It's
right?
true.
And you can see that playing out in hopefully in the movie, but in these sites and these programs wherever you go. It's really it activates me. It gets me excited. When as I've said, I've been able to travel, internationally and with this film and with my nonprofit and support people doing the work. And I just get charged up when I see that connection point that is love, right? It's love and compassion. It's like it's inspiring.
I was just going to mention the first Beacon of Hope, Manitoba's first supervised safe consumption site, didn't open until July of this past year. So it took that long, but it's good that it says that it's Indigenous led, and it'll be open next year in Winnipeg, but exactly where and when still to be figured out. But it looks like that could be a step next forward in reducing stigma.
Awesome, man. That's a good update.
Well, we're going to wrap this up.
If you want to see the Frankie videos.
Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do next, Frankie. I was going to just add in a final note, you look at me and here's someone who's worked in addictions and suffered from addictions. And here I am doing good today, right? There's hope for people, but you can't give up on them. You got to give them a chance. All right, we're going to watch some Frankie videos now.
Yes. Be prepared! Hey everybody, it's Frankie McDonald, my dad, Frank McDonald. One of his latest songs on the SoundCloud is Fireproof. He wrote a song all by himself. He played his own guitar and things like this. He did a great job. He wrote his own lyrics and played guitar all by himself and mastered a song, recorded a song. Fireproof, that's my dad's one of his latest songs on his SoundCloud. He did it all by himself. He did a great job from Frank down. Don't drive a car to the flood. Avoid the flood when you drive a car. Don't drive a car to the puddles either. This is Frankie McDonald, my own TV station, live from Sydney, Nova Scotia. Heavy rains headed towards southern Florida on Sunday, October the 6th, 2024. It's going to bring 100 plus millimeters of rain. It's going to last for the next few days on. It's going to last through Monday, October 7th, Tuesday, October 8th, and Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. It's going to bring a lot of rain in Miami, Florida, Orlando, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, surrounding areas. It's going to be hydraulic outlook. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain that can cause sewers to back up the streets. I urge everyone to wear your rain gears, rub roots, or raincoats to keep you dry. Don't walk to the puddles. Avoid the puddles to go for a walk when you drive a car. Don't drive a car to the puddles as well. Since you got the Florida Panthers against Boston Bruins in Miami, Florida on Tuesday, October 8, 2024. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in Miami, Florida that day. Heavy rain's going to continue in Miami, Florida. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain in Miami, Florida, and the surrounding areas as well. Be extra prepared. It's going to bring a whole lot of rain starting on Sunday, October 6th, 2024 in Miami, Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, and the surrounding areas as well, and the Alligator Alley as well. If everybody living in southern Florida, be prepared for heavy rain on Sunday, October 6th, 2024. Take care, stay safe. Don't get caught in heavy rain. Stay dry, be safe. Don't drive a car to the puddles. Avoid the puddles when driving the car. Stay away from the flooded areas. Hey everybody, my dad, Frank McDonald, made his latest song on SoundCloud, Coast to Coast. He wrote a song all by himself. He wrote the lyrics all by himself. He played guitar all by himself and mastered a song. He did work all by himself making a song, Coast to Coast. That's my dad, Frank McDonald's latest song on SoundCloud, Mystic Mist. The title of the song is Coast to Coast. My dad, Frank McDonald, wrote lyrics. He wrote his own song and things like this from Frank Down.
Oh, Frankie, have I told you lately I love you?
He's making a lot of music in these days. He's busy writing songs, playing guitar and things like this.
Tell your dad I say hi. He's a good man.
And guess what? Karen's doing great so far. Hey, Karen, that some of those places in the States, they get large hail during tornado season. Hail's capable of breaking car windows.
We do have 3 extra minutes still, so we can go to 8:03 to make up for time tonight. We didn't talk to a lot of you about your local weather, and I'm sorry. But here's a chance.
That's okay. Who do you want to pick first?
Someone talk. Time's ticking.
Well, I just
he's been desperately waiting for the chance. So if we don't, he's just gonna have it. He's gonna have to first.
Anyways, the weather is kind of getting a little bit interesting over the next few days. It's more like Manitoba's finally getting what that cold fall-like weather we've been all looking for. And Justin and I have been talking, and it's supposed to get down to about +2 degrees tonight. There's going to be a hard frost across southern Manitoba. And I'm looking at Brandon probably getting below 0 tonight. For those on the radio, it'll probably be this is like before you guys listen to it. So, and surprisingly, next week looks like we're gonna get into warm up. I see our temperatures Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday getting into the 20s again. Weird, but I'll take it.
Brandon, I hear you're going to be 0
wind
tonight.
event on Friday nights.
Hey, Brandon Hauk.
Oh, he's muted.
Here in Wilkie, Saskatchewan, if I'm watching Aurora Borealis on Saturday night,
Oh yeah.
how windy is it going to be out there Saturday night?
You'll be blown away. I think I'll get blown away.
I just I want to ask.
Tie your hat to your head.
I was going to ask Ronnie because I think it's important. And I came in late, so I may have missed it. But how can somebody link arms with you and help your cause? I think it's important for people to know when they're listening or watching.
Great question. Yeah.
I was muted. I appreciate that, Justin. My nonprofit is at the website is thezeroblog.org, and I'm on socials as well. Well, that would be Instagram and Facebook as Zero Block Society.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is it 0 the number or is 0 spelled out?
Spelled out.
With an O in the 0, not a 0. It's been a great show. We've had a full.
If you want to follow me on social media, my blue sky is at Frankie MacD. My Twitter is at Frankie MacD. Now X, and my link tree is Frankie MacDonald. My Facebook is Frankie MacDonald. My Instagram is Frankie MacD94. My TikTok is FrankDonald94. My Clapper is FrankDonald94. My Twitch is FrankDonald94. My Snapchat is Frankie MECD1. My YouTube channel is Dogs and Wolves. And my link is Frankie MacDonald. Best luck to you. I'm Frank MacDonald. Here's the meteorological weather report every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Atlantic.
I'm Joey Only, the host, and right there is producer Imogen, who hasn't said much tonight. How you doing, Imogen?
Yeah, I'm upright, so I'm therefore okay. We'll go with that.
Did we do good tonight?
I guess so. I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, good.
I'm just still.
Karen, how you doing tonight?
I'm just still keeping
good.
What were you making in your kitchen? It seemed like it was pretty late at night to be so busy over there.
Yeah.
In my kitchen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I kind of was making
He's
some
canning my
spaghetti with
salsa.
my homemade canned spaghetti sauce.
Oh, hell yeah. That is awesome.
That was close.
And funny news story. 8 bulls escaped the Massachusetts rodeo and charged through a mall parking lot. This happened on September 22nd in North
cool.
Attleboro, Massachusetts.
It's like the
So
running
you
of
guys
the
can look
bulls,
into that if
except
you want.
nobody wants to be running from them.
Yeah. Sounds like a lot of bull to me.
It sounds like a lot of bull. It's been a good show tonight. That was Justin Ordle from the Weather Center of Manitoba. We had Hank Vliestra, Storm Chaser in Wilkie, Saskatchewan. Brandon Howe, co-host as always. Producer Imogen Bailey as always. Mike McGregor from Weather Center of Manitoba. And of course, meteorologist Mark Ingalls was here. And the star of the show, Frankie MacDonald. And our special guest tonight, Ronnie Grigg. And just love you, buddy. Just love you.
Ronnie it used to be a regular during 2021.
Used to be regular, and Ron, we always love to have you back on.
Kudos to Ronnie. Kudos.
Hey,
That was
Karen,
amazing.
how was the weather?
We all give Ronnie an applause.
Thanks, everyone. The weather, Frankie?
How was the weather in your area, Karen?
Oh, it's tonight. I actually got out for a walk, Frankie. The rain quit. Maybe tomorrow night, not so lucky, but today was good.
Hey, Karen, southern Australia and Perth, Australia got hit by high winds and heavy rain, and Taiwan and eastern China got hit by typhoon.
Well, they can keep that there, Frankie. I don't want that here.
Well, that's the end of the show, unless you're watching the live stream or unless you're tuned in at CFR or CKUW or no, that's the end of the show for you. Unless you're at Joey Only Caribbean Weather Dude YouTube channel where the live stream's going on, that's the end of the show for you. That's the show.
That's the show.
That's the
That's
show.
the show.
That's
Night,
it.
guys.